There we go. Okay. All right. Stop the need to do that. Yeah. Get the bifocal contact lenses. There you go. What are we? March 2nd. March 2nd. Finance Committee meeting starting at 6:02. Members present: Dave Rathgeb,
James Harris,
Lauren Small,
Kathy Haynes.
Rich Martino, Dane Oaks O'Neill.
Okay. So we wanted to get the folks from the bank out of the way first, Mr. Small.
Yes.
That way you guys can go about your business. And,
Last meeting, we reported that as a result of the merger of banks that were servicing our lockbox, there had been some issues last summer as far as the service that was being provided. So we prepared an RFP for the approval of the solicitor and advertised the RFP. We had one actual response, that being from VIST, and representatives from VIST are here this evening. The RFP, or the response to the RFP has been reviewed by the solicitor, and everything is in order. So effective July 1st, servicing will be through VIST. Now, if you ladies, we know you have the Main Street Birdsboro location, as well as...
The next closest one would be Perkiomen Avenue in Exeter, I believe, is what Kathy knows about.
Okay. Well, both of them would be servicing our taxpayers.
Absolutely, we welcome the walk-in traffic.
I will tell you that as a result of the RFP, there will be a savings in processing of the tax bill.
what could be bad? Right?
With the committee's recommendation, we'll move this to the COW on the 13th of March, vote out on the 27th, and
So they'll still have the option of the lockbox. We're going in person.
or walk-in.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
You're also working with Twin Valley?
We had put in they had put an RFP request.
Okay.
Actually last summer.
Okay.
I will share with you, we were one of the top two. We did not get the final
Okay.
pick, but we did do all of the testing of their bills,
Okay.
which I believe are the same as yours, so we are all good to go.
That's what, okay.
That'll make the transition with BCIU. They had certain requirements that have to be done, and they needed a 3-month leeway in order to do
To get the
it.
printing
Get the
accomplished.
printing,
Yeah.
and with the bill's going to have to be done before, the end of June, have them
Right.
done. We wanted to give enough time, but they've already gone through the drill, so it should speed it up quite a bit.
Okay. And
if they need that 3-month leeway, we have to vote on it in March, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
We,
Hoping to do it this month, but...
yeah,
it
the
is
solicitor
February.
felt we could move it ahead because we had presented it, Dave presented it at MEC that night that we were doing this, and RFPs are a little different than anything else, but I said, let's take it through the channels, because that'll still give them April, May, and in June, before the tax bills actually go out on July 1.
any problems, Mr. Dane Lucas O'Neill or Mr. Martino? Okay.
All right,
Easy enough.
we'll get everything in order.
Everything in
Thank you
order?
for having us, and we're excited.
Yes.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
glad. We are too. You guys have really good customer service.
Thank you.
We're pleased working with you.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Good.
Good.
Nice meeting you.
You too. You all.
Have a great night.
Thank
You too. Thanks for coming. Yes, thanks for having us.
So with the blessing of the committee, we'll get that on the next. Okay. Very good.
It'll get a lot easier when we're transferring the money from the lockbox into this.
Yeah, we have a Vista account, don't we?
That's all of our accounts are
Yeah,
on
yeah.
this, and we're
Yeah.
always transferring back and forth. It makes it a lot easier than going through three different types of things.
All right. Update on the budget.
Really, there is none, except what you read in the paper. So we're just waiting for developments. Perhaps Mr. Martino, following the legislative side of it, what they're really not doing. Having hearings with various agencies, but not a lot happening.
Well, that one that,
Proposed his budget, and the legislature is now saying everything that's wrong with it.
the one that did stick out to me, that's why I asked to get it on the agenda, was that transportation cut.
Yeah, we can jump in with that. The governor's budget included a $50 million reduction in allocation to the transportation subsidy. Keep in mind that the formula that drives out transportation subsidy is archaic at best, has been talked about for years, and then when he stepped forward, well, let's back up, the Auditor General came forward initially and said, as a result of his audits, districts are dealing with contracts because they don't have to, they're not forced to bid them out or do RFPs on them. They're often paying more than their the formula is providing for. So that kind of started things rolling. So it's kind of a two-pronged deal. The governor reduced in his proposed budget by the $50 million, and then the Auditor General was saying they need to put a bill out there that mandates a rebidding or re-RFP of all transportation services every 3 years. So both issues are out there. Now, PASBO, based on the
You could provide input for rebidding.
Pardon?
You could provide some input in that.
The point is, we approved a 5-year contract, but if they approve this, we'd have to move forward with it in 3 years. PASBO, based on what they've been able to find out on the Hill, sent a spreadsheet out to all the districts demonstrating the impact of this $50 million. In our case, it would be approximately $138,000 in a reduction. Now, the math behind this, they haven't shown us, but the point is $140,000 in reduced subsidy, and like I say, until we can see the new formula, and they're saying there won't be a new formula until a committee has been formed, much like they did with special ed 4 years ago and basic ed 3 years ago. So there's a
So
lot
that what they're saying is the governor feels that the current reimbursement is too much?
Based on
Based on that old formula?
based on the Auditor General saying that he found all these districts that were paying more because of careless bidding, that
Well, he also
we
said
needed a new
that
formula.
too many districts weren't bidding, they were doing backroom deals.
That's right. So
So for us that do bid it out, we should be exempt from the reduction, right?
Well, maybe. Lauren and I discussed this briefly. It sounds like they almost want them bid every year.
well, right now, the
Sounds like
AG
more-
is saying 3,
More
but
work and everything else than that.
But to get, of course, the transportation contractors, the big players, if you will, in the state are saying, hey, wait a minute, 3 years, we want at least 5-year contracts.
Well, it's understandable. If they go buy buses, they don't want to find out that a year later they don't have a job, you know.
The thing is, they can't finance buses, they can't obtain financing unless they have multiple year contracts in place. So,
The only other thing is, if they cut us $138,000, that almost wipes out the extra money we get under the basic education fund.
it does, and that was part of this spreadsheet. They netted out where we would end up with, where we had 172, well, we'd be down to 34,000.
Which is nothing.
Which I still can't figure out under the basic ed, how come we seem to get one of the lowest increases in the county, but,
Well, that remains to be seen too with this new formula, because there's so many uncertainties there with all of this median income and all the other pieces. But that hasn't been finalized either.
okay.
So that's the best I can tell you on the transportation subject.
What are they, is the opinion that we will have a on-time budget?
I don't know what the opinion is.
They're saying they are, but it's March, and neither branch of the legislature has made any proposal yet, so all that's out there is what the governor proposed.
How many of them are for reelection next year? Or this year?
I
Or?
don't know, but like Mike Terzai was in the Philadelphia Inquirer the other day, still saying he wants to sell all the state stores, which Wolf doesn't want to do, so right there, they're loggerheads.
All right. Okay, all right, where are we at with our money we're spending on all our facilities here?
Based on what has been approved by the board and a few other items that will be reviewed at the next facilities committee meeting, we have approximately $500,000 still in the capital projects budget after what the board has approved.
Aren't you lucky?
You say 500,000?
She perked up there.
It's already starting to spend. I can see it.
She's
The
looking
wheel.
forward to the next 4 years.
Wheels are going.
She wants that assurance that that $500,000 transfer is going to happen every year.
Well, I like it, but frankly, after this year, it's not really my problem. So I guess that's a bad attitude, but no, I mean, I'd like to see that happen.
Case of senioritis is setting in there. While we're on this topic, and since you're here, and Jim, and has there been talk about since we're still having issues with GCA, right, as far as getting skilled folks that are here to do certain repairs, right? Has there been talk about having going out and getting approved list of contractors with set pricing, so that Casey or whoever knows that they need plumbing work done? We got a list of 1 or 2 or 3, whatever, and we got a set pricing from these guys, and we can call them and we're good to
There
go.
are a number of vendors that were used before GCA was here, and some of them are used now. In looking through the POs, and tell me if I'm wrong, we used a plumber to unstock a toilet the other day. Yeah.
Captain Clog, yes, I've seen Captain Clog.
We've seen
made
them
that.
before.
Ken Smith had his favorite contractors, and I don't know who Casey's using, but if we're going to develop a list of contractors, I'd like to see a lot of local people and keep that money in the community if we can.
I did that when I first got here. I got a list. I think the last 3 years we went back and looked at who was the facility director, who they used. And it's interesting how someone was used heavy 3 or 4 years ago, but when you have a change of directorship, it changes because there's a preference.
Yeah.
GCA has made a counter proposal to what the current contract is, and it's going to be presented. I haven't been in facilities in a while. It should be presented. They sent it to me and Lauren to look at. I sent it to Subers. He hasn't gotten back to me yet on that. They offered some concessions and some changes in the agreement, but once again, the work that's being done is really, I think you said it best, Dave. The work is being done a little better, and we're saving money, but it's still the best we're getting for our money right now.
Right.
If you want to jump ahead on the agenda, to GCA billings, I put a summary spreadsheet there for you. It shows the first 6 months of the year, July through December. The way the system works, they send us an invoice every month, which is simply 1/12 of their contract, and it's broken down custodial, maintenance, and ground. They are then required to submit the certified payroll, the hours that they provided in those 3 areas. So after the first month, when we realized that they were coming up short, particularly in the maintenance area, Brian Subers and I worked up this spreadsheet so that I simply enter the actual hours provided against what they billed us, and I have adjusted. So this is a summary of the adjustments that I have made for the first 6 months. I haven't received their labor records for January, and of course not February, it's only second day of March. But they're typically a couple months behind. But what this demonstrates is that during the first 6 months, they recognize they've had a shortfall in the hours provided. So in the first 6 months, we have reduced their billings by $97,000.
What's the total annual contract amount, roughly?
Well, a monthly bill, multiply 142,000 times 12, that's basically the contract.
That's like
1.6.
1.7.
But obviously, we've replaced some of this maintenance with folks who brought in from the outside. Now, but are they being billed then for, how's that working again?
Well, the way the contract is written, what they're required to provide, there was hours that they were mandated to provide, but the services that they are required to provide are per the original job descriptions that were in place on June 30th. So, case of Captain Clog, and if you read the job description for maintenance custodial employees, you could interpret and say they should be able to unclog a toilet. Therefore, we shouldn't be calling Captain Clog.
Right.
That should be part of their deal. We had an issue, for instance, with painting, where they said, oh, that's outside of our timeout. The job description says that grounds people on rainy days are supposed to be inside painting. So therefore, this is your routine painting. So,
But the
On
hours,
that, though, and I don't want to turn this into a facilities meeting, but I grew up doing construction. If you're not doing your maintenance, that leads to problems
it
later.
does. That was one of the concerns. We did ask, is it Doug, I guess, from GCA, to come to the next
Doug's the local
facilities.
guy. Doug won't be at the next.
Not
one.
Doug, the next guy. George. Because we really do feel like we got Quakertown's reject, you know? It doesn't seem to be,
That'd be Doug?
yeah, it doesn't seem to be improving a whole lot there. So we did ask George to come. He's supposed to come. We are going to, excuse me, a pretty short meeting, but we'll try to get done what we can get done.
You're going to hold on the 13th then?
Well, at least for now, I might see if we can schedule something else,
All
but
right, doesn't matter, that's a separate issue. But back to what Mr. Harris just said, they had thrown this offer out back in the fall, and I sent it to Brian back then, and we've been back and forth on it. They want to reopen the contract and make some adjustments and what have you, but that doesn't satisfy the fact that some things, but that's the purpose of them coming. The Facilities Committee is to discuss the shortcomings, so,
How long is their contract?
3 years.
And the reason I ask, and you know, so many of our committees overlap with everything. Jim, you know, Mike keeps talking about the director of operations, and he's worried that he doesn't put too much on that job because he feels GCA needs so much oversight. But realistically, the contractor should, if they're living up to their side of the deal, the director of operations should basically just manage contractual obligation. You shouldn't have to be walking around checking corners for dirt.
True.
What's our escape clause if GCA can't live up to their contract?
It's in there.
It's in there, it's like a
Right,
30-day or
it-
90-day clause.
Yeah.
the director of operations shouldn't have to be out fixing the
No, I
HVAC
agree.
because they can't, the maintenance guys can't do it.
Yeah, so maybe GCA needs to be put on notice saying, hey, if you can't live up to your contract, we need to look around for somebody that can.
Lauren, the hours that are reported
Yes.
undergrounds undergrounds, is that our grounds people or like when they had Holtzman or whoever doing the,
They submit the hours that are provided by their outside contractor.
and then we just pay them our rate? Okay, so that's not necessarily employees that they have here.
Correct.
It's just hours they're providing service.
Yeah, they
Okay.
hired our grounds people, I mean, the outside contractor.
Right, but they, I believe there was some painting. They provided the hours that they paid to have somebody come in, so I gave them credit for those hours.
Okay.
Would grounds include snow removal and stuff?
Their only responsibility for snow removal is the curb,
Sidewalk.
but they hire the same
But
contractor.
I'm saying, because you've had so little snow this year, that they should actually have less hours reported, shouldn't they?
Well,
No,
Point
because they're
is-
supposed to be doing other things if they're
Yeah.
not doing
they're-
grounds work.
if they were providing their 960 hours a month for grounds, they could have them inside doing the touch-up painting per the
Okay.
job descriptions that are in the contract.
So circling back to the original, my original comment of, should we have a list of approved vendors that are, that's not local, but at least within a
Well, and I'll-
certain, so you're not paying extra for
Well,
guys
we-
getting out here, or, just we're
You
using,
may not have what you want right here.
I mean, yeah, it's true, but, we're using union shops for some things, which cost a lot more than.
Well, one of the things that we've done, it takes a little bit of time because you do have to put together some type of RFP, but, like on our, we've gone out, we have what we call a tree contractor, there's certain services that we can't do, but we don't want to call for 3 quotes every time we have that come up, especially if it's an emergency. So we just go out and basically we solicit local companies to give us pricing, kind of like we did with the mowing. And then we have we have the lowest hourly rate and we have a backup and we know who to call if we have something that we need that for. So maybe it's almost like what you said,
Yeah.
it's an approved list of
Yeah.
vendors, and it doesn't hurt to look into that. You just kind of have to put a little bit of time and thought into soliciting the pricing.
And that would give assurance that we're getting the lowest possible hourly rate for Monday through Friday, weekends, holidays.
We can add that to our list of things to do.
Or a short meeting.
Okay. Enrollment. Staffing.
I placed the latest report that came out today before you as well.
Numbers are actually the same, even though there's a little bit of difference in classes, but they're actually totally the same for once. I will say, I did start to kind of peek through this, and I think I have to lean a little bit towards Mr. Martino and say that I think I came up with 6 elementary, or K through 5.
Well, because I redid it myself. The numbers today say 6. The first grade is maxed. And first grade, I think we all agree, does get more kids in than what we have now, so that will reduce it to at least 5, assuming the numbers all stay the same through the rest of the year. What I was going to say to the business office, when you're doing your budget, because the administration's still saying 2 or 3, could you do different budget models with 2 to 3, up to 5, plus the administrative positions, plus or minus, we talked about the other night? And that way, whatever we decide, whichever way we go,
Yeah, I think
whatever you be worked out.
ultimately it will probably come down to, again, for a full board meeting, and we'll, probably make the decision at that point as late as we can.
Well, and it should be, even though it has to be no later than June, so that the teachers can
Yeah.
get notice, and that's if there aren't enough retirements to cover it.
Now, one of the things we were finding with the merging of the schools, or reconfiguration, the more sections we have, we can increase the class size. Because what's happened in the past is
Yeah.
with, say, 1st through 5th, we had BEC not at capacity, and then we had AEC at a little higher number, but they would go to BEC, they have to go to BEC. Now that we're coming down in the grades, we're finding as we add sections, so if we only have, say, 4 sections at AEC, and let's just say 3rd grade,
Well,
we
when I
can add.
did this, Jim, I still have 2 second grades, because you're gonna have a second grade at Monocacy and one at Amity, and you have 2 fifth grades, one at BEC and one at Amity, but you can still only go up to our guidelines. I mean, if it were up to me, could we raise our guidelines? Yes, but you're not gonna get that by the board. There's no way the board's gonna agree to raise those numbers.
And to throw my 2 cents in, I think having that variable model, like Mr. Martino said, you know, I'm the middle ground guy. If we're going to take 5 from elementary, I'd like to see us put 1 in the high school or somewhere else where you need it, and so we can still get a couple reductions and beef up where we can beef up.
And just so you know that the 5th grade for BEC is right around 121. Okay, so no matter what you see on here, the number, we've offered transfers, and I think 4 have taken it. So we're right at 121, 122 for BEC.
Fourth grade will become 121.
Yes.
Fifth grade next year.
What do you say, they'd go to AEC instead?
No. That, the number here, you see the rising 4th graders going into 5th grade. There'll be a certain number on here.
Mhm.
Reality of those 4 of them have asked to go over to AEC because they have
That's what I'm
siblings.
saying. So
So-
you raise AEC by 4,
Right.
which still has plenty of room,
Yeah.
and it would take
BEC down.
BEC
yeah.
farther away from.
Just let you know that,
That's
yeah.
good.
And that's through and then on the 3rd grade, 4th and 5th, we're seeing some more efficiencies because of the merging, the blending of the teachers coming over. So we'll have 3rd and 4th grade teachers over at AEC.
Yeah, with the numbers the way they show right now, BEC 5th grade would be like 25 and a half. But you're saying you're taking 4 kids out of there, but AEC only has 22 kids in the class, so.
And with the added sections, so say we have 6 sections, we could be closer to the top because we can still add 2 kids per class.
each
So we could
section,
add
yeah.
12 kids, where before we could only add 6 because we only had 3 sections. Now, if we have 6 sections, we're closer to the top, we can add 12.
Yeah,
So that's the benefit of the reconfiguration, adding more sections in the school. It doesn't matter where they live, because now the borderlines are gone. We can add more students, so we can be closer to mid or top level. And even if we're at the top, if we have, we can still get 7 or 8 more students in because of the sections that are available.
well, and these numbers have been odd because January, we added
Yeah.
for the first time since I've been on the board. This month, like Dave said, there was some shift within different classes, but the bottom line stayed the
Yeah, it
same.
didn't change at all.
So, historically, we would still lose some more, on average, of about 8 a month for the next couple of months, but it's hard to say whether that'll happen now.
What we're tracking now is the preschool from the IU, how many of them are coming in to us in kindergarten. Right now, there's just 1. So, but enrollment is just really, the letters just went out. So we're hoping that would show up the kindergarten a bit.
Any other comments? Staffing enrollment? Okay. Already did the lockbox, did transportation, did GCA. I asked for a update on that per capita tax so that we can maybe come up with a recommendation whether we want to keep that, get rid of it, or if we do get rid of it, then do we make it up in our general millage? So you want to fire away here? What we're looking at?
Well, this, of course, is a mid-year report. As she said to us today when she gave us this report, trying to track her actual cost
Right. Yep.
is yellow with the wall. Very time consuming, and even though we're through the main part of the tax collection the first 6 months, she still is.
Who's mostly
Mary Ellen Rhodes.
So that falls under the, where does that fall under?
What's that date?
The internal payroll, is that on here somewhere, or no?
Well, down at the bottom line, the additional expenses for the tax clerk administration, she really doesn't have a number in there for her actual cost. It's just so tough to identify.
I mean, looking at these numbers, so, I mean, this is, so we're saying bottom line, I mean, this is not going to go up much as far as revenue, right? I mean,
Doesn't ever.
yeah, I mean, well, yeah, so we're saying that we're netting 102.8
Right,
without our internal payroll.
right. Without all her miscellaneous work.
I mean, with that number, I'm kind of inclined to say,
I kind of always, I always kind of thought it's, for what you get and what you pay, it seems like a wasted effort, I think. To absorb 100,000 across the village. And I mean, I know some taxpayers that would agree. I'm sure there's going to be some taxpayers that don't, but I know plenty of taxpayers that think the cost of collection versus what you get is kind of silly. But I would throw out there, if we do feel it's time consuming, I think we should then have a plan for, I mean, is there something else we can put on her to do? Or does that position then drop to an under full-time position? Or, I mean, I just don't want to waste those hours.
I,
Definitely missing out.
I would say the majority of her time is real estate.
Right.
This is, what she's saying is to clearly identify how much time she's spending with per capita is just tough to do. So I'm not saying that it's a huge number, but because she every day I see things coming through on the backs of the printer where she's doing real estate searches and all the rest. So that's the bulk of her job.
And I'm not saying it's not. I'm just, if you just take, there's what, 15,000 bills, basically? Even if you figure 5 minutes a bill, which, I mean, I think if you're sending a bill, you're receiving a bill, you're posting a bill, you're dealing with the check, you're looking, I mean, maybe it's not 5 minutes, but it seems like it should free up some time.
Well, it definitely will, I guess.
so to Mr. Twardowski's point, is there more things that person could do then?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, that's,
Right, I'm just saying, I think we should have that, I think we should know that ahead of time.
Should we do bus routes?
Because, and have an idea of what we want those hours, how we want, what else we respond, because otherwise, I can tell you what'll happen, it'll just, that will go away, and the job will just morph into, she'll just keep doing the rest of what she's doing. Right, and I'm saying if we can make some type of, I'm not saying it has to be half her job or a third of her job, I'm just saying if there's something that we can add that takes something off of somebody else, if somebody else is overworked, or an additional task, I would like to
and some
have
things
that
that had been
ahead of
falling through the
time.
cracks,
Right.
and
If we can identify those before, if this is a next year thing that we're going to get rid of, we have plenty of time to figure out what things that are falling through the crack that maybe she could pick up.
yeah, I mean, I'm leaning towards getting rid of it. That'd be my,
Let me just ask, and without me trying to analyze all these numbers, do you have a rough idea of how much time a day goes toward this?
I'll find out. I know.
It depends, because she could have one bill like I got involved in. So I ended up having to talk to this guy for an hour because of per capita bills that he hadn't paid back and he had moved and gone back and forth. But then there could be a day or two that passes that she doesn't spend any time.
Right, but it.
So
I mean,
you're looking
it can't
at-
be more than 20% of her job or something, right? Like,
I would say 10 to 15%, 15, right there would be about 15% of her time spent on per capita.
But even 15% is more than an hour a day.
Well, I mean, I don't know,
It comes to
I
about
just,
2 hours a day, if you were to calculate it daily, but on some days it could be, 5 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I was on the phone with that guy for an hour, then following up, getting all the information, you're looking at.
even the
Jim and I
exact,
smiled at each other, but I'm half serious. We were talking about somebody to do the bus route maintenance. If you have 2 hours a day, a person can do the bus route maintenance.
well, and I just, like, just that quick math, because I thought, well, 5 minutes was actually like 1,200 hours, so that's a lot. At 2 minutes a bill, it's 500 hours a year. And, I mean, I would think with the exonerations and stuff like that, some of those are even gonna be more than 2 minutes.
They are. She was in my office for more than 2 minutes twice this week, trying to deal with some of these stupid exonerations.
And she wouldn't be the right candidate for the bus routes.
Right.
Moving, shifting around, because you understand when the bills come out.
Right.
Or 7-1.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Okay, so she is swamped from the time I started 7-1 until, I didn't see her until September.
But if she's not doing this,
But no, she does
No, real estate
Still doing real
bills go
estate,
out.
yeah.
out of the real estate. bill.
Yeah, so that's like her massively busy time would start July 1. When those bills hit everybody's mailbox, she is swamped all the way till about September. But there could be a shift, of course.
I mean, speaking as a taxpayer, like today I got my county tax bill, which with everything, township and all, it's $100 more than last year. But this, what we're talking is making a change that would still be revenue neutral. We're just gonna use the village to replace. what
And
we're getting
that's,
from
yeah,
the tax.
that's, yeah. I mean, we don't have to, but,
No, I'm saying if we did it.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, I mean, just, yeah,
76 gets enacted.
Yeah, as soon as that happens.
I think the only, perhaps, caveat to mention is, I think if the townships decide to continue, they can pick up one of the taxes, but not both.
Right.
Which then, if we ever decide to go back to it, we probably couldn't get it back. But it's just bringing it up.
When would it have to be decided?
When do those get printed?
Well, we don't.
Well, I guess until
we don't
June.
print
I guess
the
until
budget
June, right? Yeah, until budget,
Until
yeah.
the board levies in June.
Yeah, so when we do the
Try
budget.
to back it up as early in June as we can, to give time to get the printing done. You have till June.
Yeah.
So they have to be in order and ready to run the bill.
So, my thought is, see if we can drill down a little more into how much time she actually spends on this, if you could.
We'll try.
We'll try. And then report back next meeting, and then we can make a recommendation. And I also asked for a update on our funds in our cafeteria balance to see where we're at with that.
We just had our meeting with the Nutrition Inc. They came in, they give us a monthly meeting, me and Lauren sit in that meeting. And they happily reported that they're doing very well. They think overall, at the end of January, they budget to date would be, they're in the negative 21,000, but they had thought that they would be making that up pretty quickly. When I just did the run for February, just to see where we stand, it looks like they've got it down to about just around $2,000. If you're looking at, from the net position where we stood with the financials that were just audited at 16, bringing in all their expenses, had to estimate February based on there's only 28 days, so I reduced a little bit there. But it looks like they're almost to the good, almost positive.
So we'll actually see our cafeteria fund increasing at some point?
Hopefully, as long as things keep rolling the way they're rolling. But they
All right.
reported they're doing a lot of positive things, I think.
There'll be $100,000 checks this year.
No.
Because I'm sure at some point we're I'm sure something's going to break somewhere that we need to. And there is discussion on what how to handle Birdsboro for next year, right? Because they the thought was that they were maybe shuttle food over or something, or
When they met with us 2 weeks ago, they're looking at the participation in fourth grade, that'll become fifth grade, and now you're saying if some are coming to Amity, could be lower. They're only talking about 30 lunches max a day next year at Birdsboro.
Wow.
No, it's more than that. I mean, that's the
their
percentage?
participation.
Really?
Yeah.
Yes.
Surprising.
Yeah.
Even
You're
breakfast?
saying that many kids bring their lunch? I mean, the
Balance,
balance.
yeah.
Well, there's only gonna be, what, 123 kids, so,
And the staff,
So 2/3 of them are bringing their lunch.
so, but that's the number they were projecting, was
Yeah.
around 30.
About 30.
And breakfast is less, so.
Have they done anything really to help feed staff? Well, you have adults in the building too. that
Oh, yeah,
need-
they have, but
you're not going to have many of those over there either.
their projected total staff for next year with one grade there. Not a lot to market to.
But it's enough that, I mean, that's all cash for them.
It is,
Full,
but when they figure their production cost, so that's why they're trying to canteen from the high school.
Yeah, that's so. Yeah, they're going to just have basically a cashier over there and have somebody shuttle it over.
Serve it.
Yep.
Serve it.
kinda like they do here with the
Yeah.
River Rod.
Okay. Yeah.
you can eat in the classrooms.
We could open it up to the public.
I suggested it's on the development table.
I was
There you
gonna say, you might almost be better off.
You might
ordering
get
food for
a lot more folks buying then. All right. Anybody on the board have anything?
Well, I know Mr. Basil would never allow a finance committee meeting
I was gonna say,
last less than an hour, so
We had
I'm
one
gonna
3
I'm gonna
months
pull
ago.
a Ted Cruz and read from Dr. Seuss.
This is perfect, right?
I was gonna say, this might be one of the fastest finance committee meetings I've ever been to.
I try not to. I mean, especially if we got nothing. What are you going to
If
do
I
in the
knew we were
budget?
gonna push so early, I'd have scheduled facilities for after finance, though.
Well, you can make a call and see where Casey is.
Get some answers for me. I'll be off. I'll talk to you on Monday about this. This is that deal.
This is, he should pay for this.
Well,
Anything else from this side of the table?
No, we're
No?
good.
All right. Then I guess we're done. 6:42.